Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to something a little different for the channel. Today, I am joined by two members of the Greensking Gaming Discord, and we are going to be talking about our upcoming EU4 Minors game this Sunday. So, guys, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Oh, hello, guys. My name is Cookie, and I'm known as the horrible murderer in Greensking Gaming for being a fairly aggressive player.
Fairly is a light way of describing it.
Yeah, my name is Swert, or Svert, and I'm more of a diplomatic player who likes to abuse the diplomatic limits a lot. And I start in Brittany this game.
Yeah, and I start as Rosids, whose ideas suit me fairly well, I feel like.
Yeah, the Seeds ideas are glorious. I'm starting in Friesland, which did get a bit of a rework with the 125 England patch, so kind of nice. Some new ideas as well.
Yeah, definitely. The Friesland ideas look really great, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's like 10% dev cost right off the bat, and then it gets, I think your third one is morale, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think they have like 10% morale, and then they have like, is it 4 defense for manpower? I think sport defense, some additional useful military bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
And on top of that, like really good economic perks.
Oh, for sure.
The best thing about them is that they start in a really great area at the beginning in the lowlands, so they have access to the best trade node in the game, the English channel. Furthermore, they can easily contest with the other Dutch miners. So we may see a big war in the early game because we have 3 players in that area.
Yeah,
from what I've heard, there's going to be a war in the area. Maybe I should spoil it more than that, but some people here, I won't mention a name, Sword, talks a bit too much, and there might be some early action in the lowlands with 1 or possibly 2 players getting eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, we have a grand total of 3, well, technically 4 if you count Cologne, since they are so close, but we have a lot of players clustered together in the lowlands. It's going to make the early game quite interesting.
Yeah, I think it will mostly come down to the one, I think from Brabant and Holland, the one who is declaring the independence war will most likely win, because he can screw over the other one.
Oh, exactly, and that's kind of bullshit.
And I think the other one will most likely force a war directly after that, if he even gets independent.
Yeah, exactly.
And after that, I think it will be a kind of big war, as I think a lot of nations wants to have a kind of puppet in the lowlands, because we have Cologne, Brandenburg, Bavaria, and Brittany in that area, who are, at least at the beginning, a bit stronger than the lowland countries, or at least even, and then could try to influence the lowland region and decide on the winner beforehand.
Yeah, or even take it for
themselves. It will happen beforehand, and I think on session 1 at least Brabant or Holland will die.
Oh, for sure. It's kind of guaranteed at this point. There's been a lot of grumblings on the Discord over who's going to form Netherlands, and we may not even see it if things go according to my plan. Little spoiler.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the players, some nations there, you are a master, you're playing Friesland, and I guess you've been performing fairly well in our previous seasons.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Usually coming like in just under the top, like on our last majors, you ended up 2nd, just below 1st place.
Good old AI farmers pulling it off.
Yeah, due to Parafrost sneaking a win that no one expected from India.
Oh, so, yeah. That was great, though.
Yeah, indeed. It was a lot of fun. I was like battling you just because I thought the game was entirely over. And you would just be winning.
And then suddenly a wild Parafrost appears. Like, oh god, he's got like 13k points.
Yeah, exactly. I was like scrambling to get over to Indian time. It's like, yeah, nope, ain't happening.
Yeah, Parafrost has a pretty good spot, I think, with Brabant, even though I think Brabant got nerfed pretty hard in that patch, development-wise. I think they lost 20 development.
Ooh.
But I think player-wise, it's kind of even between Leonix and Parafrost, as Leonix tends to be far more aggressive than Parafrost, but I think Parafrost has the advantage of being not too ambitious with his plan, so he may get the diplomatic edge over Leonix, as
I think,
Leonix has a pretty ruined reputation after the last Majors game when it comes to taking his
I'm not sure like
choices.
Leonic's reputation is ruined, but he has a peculiar style of diplomacy. I'll just say that. I think
Yeah, he played Switzerland last time, right?
In the minors, yep.
Switzerland made an enemy out of essentially every neighbor, and then decided to go neutral and like cancel every alliances, including the one with me, which was the only thing keeping him alive.
And then he died.
And then he died. So yeah, I mean, I think Leonix has a significant weakness in the diplomatic aspect, and I think it will all come down to the diplomatic aspect, because like whichever of these 3 nations or 4 ends up isolated diplomatically will have a really rough time in the war.
Oh,
So I would
absolutely.
expect, if I'm going to go ahead and guess, I would expect Leonix to die, but it all depends on how the Diplo works out.
I can spoil a bit about that because, well, as I said, I'm doing, I think, the most quantitative and qualitative Diplo on this Discord, simply by the amount of stuff I do with Diplo.
I mean, I'll admit
And we will-
quality maybe.
We will have war 2 versus 2 player wise coming up, most likely. Even 3, it could be 3 against 3 as well. The war's already
I
planned.
don't think so, but you guys, I know your still plans. And
It's
I'm
going to
not
be a
spoiling
mess either way.
I think it will be a lot depending on what I already said, who declares the independence war, because I think the other one will get screwed by it. And overall, I think that area will see a lot of blood early on. I think
Shouldn't
ORie
it be
will have the
possible?
edge because he does not need to fight the independence war at the beginning.
It's almost like I planned it that way or something. I mean, what?
Shouldn't like the other player be able to just declare his separate independence war? with
That's
the
what I was
aid of-
actually going to ask you, Cookie. Is that a thing, since you seem to be one of the most knowledgeable players on the Discord? No offense, word.
I mean, I rarely play a PU, but I feel like as long as you maintain a 50% liberty desire during the war, which should be easy with support from the other players, you could just declare your own independence war as well.
Yeah, and I think
At
that's how
which
he's going to
point
have
you
to do
won't-
it.
Yeah, and at which point you you won't have the player allies, the AI allies that the other player might have, but will that really matter if he's already involved in a massive independence war, Burgundy that is, and you bring in like 1, 2, or 3 other players as well? So I don't think it'll be that decided. I think both players will end up independent from Burgundy and actually taking some land from them. I mean, if one player chooses to side with Burgundy in the war, that might be disastrous, because then the other player can just piece out Burgundy for independence and the other player's lands. So
Yeah,
it will end up
exactly.
there. Yeah. It's also worth noting that I don't think either player can actually get outright annexed by a single player due to AE. With the new patch, buying off a coalition is impossible, meaning that one nation shouldn't be able to take all 3 provinces from the other one without firing a coalition war.
Even
That
2
means
are way too much.
the side
Depending.
having 2 allies here, for example, if Friesland and Brabant fight Holland, that's a great advantage since they can split the land and actually eliminate Holland in one war. While if Brabant, for example, you already get bullied, it'll be hard for them to actually give the land to 2 different nations. So it's hard to eliminate you.
Yeah, no, I'm in a pretty strong spot. I'm quite pleased about it. But earlier we were talking, I mentioned Switzerland, and I was looking at the map a bit. We also have 3 players kind of clustered in the south of Germany. So, 4 actually, but how do you guys think that is going to play out?
Oh yeah,
I think
just going to mention, I meant Parafrost. You could still be killed, but Parafrost can't die in one war.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, back to the Swiss region.
Okay, the region over there. I think it's gonna be interesting. I heard a lot of the peaceful Italy Brotherhood talk, but I don't believe any of it. I think we got a Florence. I think Florence by far the player who I think should take the advantage of the best starting ruler and try to get an edge above the rest. Genoa is on my second page because I think they can expand into Crimea early on, or into Theodora, or into Circassia, which is not the best land overall, but it's free dev because the AI is actually kind of weak over there, besides Crimea. And
Yeah.
Ferrara is played by Goblin, the admin of the Greenskin Gaming. And I think he will go with his usual rather diplomatic style, but I think it will be kind of hard in the mess that Northern Italy will be. The big thing is, I think one or two players may die because of aggressive expansion, because pre-1490 is the HRE, and if you take like one province, for example, you take Milan, from Milan itself, you're kind of dead at that point, because it's just triggering a giant coalition if they are not excommunicated. And
Yeah.
I heard a lot of good stuff about the Tyrol and Switzerland player. I think they will get involved kind of early in that area.
Should we discuss the Switzerland region first and then move down to the Italian?
Well, I think that was actually a
yeah.
pretty decent synopsis, to be honest, because there is going to be a lot of interaction between the two. Just
Yeah.
looking at it, there's no way the South Germans are just going to leave the north of Italy alone.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if we start out with Italy and Goblin, on Ferrara, he's known to be like really passive and diplomatic, and he's been pushing officially on the Discord really hard for some kind of Italian alliance with all the other Italians. So if that works out for him, I think it would be a great boon for him, considering that he's the smallest nation, starting-wise, dev-wise, and also has the worst ruler with a 0 in military skill, making it really hard for him to push an early timing attack on the other players. I could see Genoa actually accepting that deal, since they have like a lot of other expansion paths. I consider them to be in the best position here, both having additional expansion paths and being a merchant republic, giving them an early economic edge, and also being able to use a trade, what's it called, trade group authorities as a defensive measure.
Oh, the trade leagues. We don't speak of
Trade
trade
league,
leagues.
thank
They
you.
suck. They're evil.
Yeah. Yeah, a trade league is a really strong defensive measure against other players attacking them early on. So I think Genoa is in a really good position. Who's playing Florence now again?
That is, let's see here,
It
Florence.
is Soltas.
Yeah, and he's pretty new to the Discord, so I haven't really gotten much of a chance to talk to him. He wasn't in any of our previous campaigns, was he?
No,
he wasn't.
he's new to the Discord, so we don't know what to expect of him, but as a Florence player, I would personally aim to eliminate Ferrara off the bat here.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see if he goes for that route or if he decides to join the Holy Italian
Hug box.
Alliance or something. That
Holy
Holy
Italian
Italian
hug
hug
box. That's exactly what it
exactly.
is.
And if Florence goes aggressive on Ferrara, off the bat, will Jena get involved or just use trade leagues to stay out and expand safely? It's going to be interesting for sure. I think Goblin would actually keep a hugbox like this or hugbox/alliance like this going forever, but most ambitious players would just try to eat each other up and form Italy eventually.
I think Florence will do it because, just as you said, I think if the Florence player is actually aggressive, he should go right off the bat for for Ferrara, and once he kills off Ferrara, or at least takes one province like Modena, he can outgrow. And a big factor is that France will most likely, the AI France will most likely ally one of these nations.
Or
So
both.
I think or both. That would be the nightmare for me as a Brittany player. But I think this is gonna be kind of interesting because if one of the nations is actually allying France and the other one is not, it may happen that if France goes aggressive on the Italy region, that some players there could get a big problem with France, because France may be too strong for some players to stop early on.
Yeah, I think it would require kind of a coalition of players to even have a chance against France, especially once they get their Elan rolling up, well, as quickly as they usually do.
I think they won't get. If they get Elan, it's already too late to fight them off.
It's a fucking AI, guys. Don't.
Yeah, but I think they won't get that far. Anyways,
if you go on France while they're fighting like Burgundy or England, I think it's totally fine. But considering that we have people wanting to get independent in the Netherlands, I'm expecting them to most likely ally or ask for support from France, which means that some players will like indirectly protect France from an early split. So I'm expecting French AI to be a significant factor in the first 50 years, at least.
Oh yeah. I mean, we do actually have a player over in Toulouse as well that kind of
I
may
think he
change
actually
the
swapped
dynamic. Did
to.
he
He
swap?
changed to Lyon. He changed to
Oh,
Lyon.
okay. So the map is a little outdated. I apologize for that.
It's fine. We had like a lot of people doing last minute changes and joining. Like that map was accurate 1 day ago.
Yeah, but it's actually kind of big change, at least for me in Brittany, because France is actually a 50-50 right now in the current patch in my eyes, because sometimes they go to murder you quite fast, and sometimes they ally you for the rest of the game. So with a Toulouse player, we would have most likely seen a split up of France early on. But without it, I will most likely go to Ireland or GB to do my business there instead of in France. And with a Lyon player, he will most likely get to try for a fast independence war, because once the wedding goes on, it's really, really hard for him to get a good independence war. It's way harder because sometimes Castile allies France, and to be honest, I don't think he can win an independence war against France, Spain, Aragon, and Naples. Even
it
with
depends on who gets in and player-wise and stuff.
But even then, it's still pretty unlikely just with the numbers.
Yeah.
I think maybe we will
see.
Easier
for Lyon to get independence if Castile doesn't have the wedding.
Yeah, they should be able to do it pretty quickly.
Yeah, we got a Teffelet player as well. Maybe he's going to interfere in Spain as well. I could see him going for Andalusia.
Yeah, that would seem likely.
It's Frede, and Frede won the first minors campaign on the server in a more or less player versus environment way.
Well, I mean, he did kind of threaten everyone around him. It's like, all right, give me this or I'll kill you, and everyone kind of was like, okay.
Yeah, but I think he is kind of good or overly decent in player versus environment for that. And Tafelat is actually a kind of good start, but he's actually getting limited by the Berber traditions.
Well,
I think he will most likely go for Africa or for Colonial, most likely, and maybe for Spain.
Yeah, I mean, if we continue on Tafelat, it's like probably a really easy independence, because both Portugal, Castile, and sometimes Aragon tends to rival Morocco, so you can just get the Iberians to support you. And like Morocco starts with a 1 in mill ruler, so they typically won't have Miltech 4 in any timely fashion. And so I think getting like an independence as Tapilite is really, really easy. And then you have free expansion down into West Africa or colonialism, or even up in Iberia, considering that we only have a Lyon player there. So I think like I would definitely put Taplate and Frede as one of the top contenders in this season, actually. I think he has one of the strongest start positions in the game.
Oh, absolutely. He's got the gold mine of Toffee Lalt, and one thing I noticed when I looked at them, they actually have the tribal government type, so you get that core creation reduction cost. Even if it's not great early, as you build up your government rank, it gets better and better.
Yeah,
and Empire rank
as like a small disadvantage, though, since he's slower on alliance slots and he has less states. But I mean, if he managed to like keep, and you have the tribal events killing your heirs, but if he like keeps it until he reaches Empire rank, I think it's actually a fairly strong government to use for quite some time.
Yeah, I think we may see him reform into Morocco, honestly.
I would expect that, so I'm not seeing it as like a bonus that he has tribal government, but depends on what he's planning to do with it. Morocco gets, is it administrative monarchy?
No, it's an Ikta, I believe.
It's Ikta.
Okay. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm kind of sure that it's Ikta.
I think all the Berber nations start as Iktas anymore.
Yeah, I know, but I know they do, but I was thinking there's like one Arabic nation that doesn't let you form into an Ikta, but
Algiers.
But it's probably another nation I'm thinking about.
To the wiki.
What's about Algiers? I think it could be Algiers.
Could be.
Yeah, I don't know. It might not even be over there. I'm just derailing.
So I think we are finished with that area.
Yes, let's move on to, we got the Middle East. Let's move there, and then we'll rotate counterclockwise for the final region in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I want to cover a little bit more of the HRE, but we can go down in Middle East as well.
I think we should finish up with Eastern Europe and the HRE.
Yeah, just a kind of brief touch on it again. Regardless, what do you guys think? I think AQ actually is going to have an interesting time because they actually will be able to block Genoa from expanding into Crimea with an alliance potentially.
AQ is hilarious in my eyes because they got the best idea, best missions in that area for a minor nation. I think even overall their ideas are not that bad. Missions are not that bad. Their ideas are really good for the early game. Their starting general is great. Air 4, 5, 6, I think, with a really good general, and they can ally the Ottomans right off the bat. So I think defensive wise, they are kind of invincible, and they can easily expand towards the Caucasus. And I think if they are aggressive, they will most likely go for a Session 1 war against Mushasha, and maybe kill Mushasha already, Session 1.
Yeah, it could be. Like, AQ is, for a minors game, fairly absurd. I think it's one of the probably top 3 strongest nations that were available to pick in our region. So I'm definitely expecting AQ to perform well. I haven't played with the player, but at least from the way he's talked to me, he claims to be fairly experienced as well. So I'm expecting him to perform very well in AQ. And probably and potentially be a contender with me down here in the Middle East. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what Mazandaran and Mushasha do early on. We might see a mutual defensive alliance there, at least in the start. Somebody's going to have to form Persia.
I don't think that it will be Reinhard. From my experience I had with him, he's a rather passive player overall. And I think if AQ is actually going to bully him around, I think he will most likely get killed kind of fast. And if we see a Persia, I think it will be AQ. Because I don't think that Mazandaran is going to form Persia. I don't think that Nesquix or Alphabats are going for Persia. And I don't think that Cookie will go for it as Rasids. And so I think the strongest nation in that area is AQ by far. So I think AQ will form Persia by Session 2.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, as Massandra and Musasha, I would also be aware of the fact, and I would ally against them. But yeah, Reinhard is a fairly passive player, in my experience. And also a little bit stabby. So I wouldn't want him as an ally. But if we're being brutally honest, but I mean, it should be in his own interest to ally Musasha and try to limit AQ's growth. So we'll see what happens.
Oh, for sure. We have Nesquix out in Baluchistan. What do you guys think of that pick? I was actually considering grabbing that myself.
I think it's like a very strong pick. The Baluchi culture has access to form Timurids and Mughals off the bat, and has a really easy road to expansion into India and then north once Timurids start falling apart. I was literally actually not picking Baluchistan because I thought it was too strong of a pick. I think it's severely underrated. With that said, it has some fairly early vulnerabilities in its 1-1-1 ruler and no feudalism.
True, that is kind of a setback.
So yeah, I mean, you have like maybe one messy early war against AI into India to get feudalism, and then you're pretty much set, I think, and grow some.
Yeah, it kind of depends on alliances as well. I've noticed playing in some single-player games, you have to kind of play the major powers in northern India off each other.
Yeah, the usual stuff for miners in India.
Yeah, I mean, like, if both Sind and Multan grab strong AI allies, I think it could be hard for him, but otherwise I'm expecting him to do well. With that said, Nesquix is a fairly new player who played with him before, and he has like had a fairly passive playstyle, mostly against AI, and I mean, while surviving and expanding, not performing like amazingly.
Yeah, I mean, he's been top 10, right?
Oh, but well, how many players were left at that point? And
yeah,
I think.
Well, I mean, honestly, if we're counting everyone that dropped out.
Yeah, but I don't think that he's going for Mughals. I don't think without help. I don't think without any help he will be able to form Mughals pre-1600s.
Are you saying I won't help him?
Yeah, but that's future music. I don't know if he will. And honestly, I think from what I've heard about the colonial game with my miners in my area, I think that India will get contested fairly soon, and I think that a Rasids player may have some business over there as well.
I mean,
So I think he may have some problems forming it right off the bat.
I'll
And
be
if he's-
straight up. Like my plan right now, if nothing changes, is essentially to just keep my neighboring newbie players, which I consider Nesquiks, Alpha Butts on Hormuz, and maybe Bukana on Mushasha, depending on how he performs to be. To just keep them alive as like my own personal challenge. Because I honestly don't feel like at his Alpha Butts, if put her as an example, has like, is it 20 hours in EU4? This is
Damn.
her.
Yep.
Yeah,
around 20.
she will struggle at the AI, so it doesn't feel right for me to go and just kill her off the bat, and hence I'll just differ a little bit from my normal aggressive self and try to aid these players in their early expansions, and so we'll see how that works out. But I'll have a good
Aw.
time at least.
Look at you being such a nice guy, Cookie. Where was this in the last Majors game?
Well, I mean, I was kind of nice.
I just
You
gotta. Yeah,
You were just nice because Rufinia was missing out in the last session.
No, I would
Otherwise
have
you-
murdered you if you were there.
It would have been
but-
glorious.
It would have been like Oberyn Martell versus the Mountain. You would have been Oberyn Martell and I would have been the Mountain. I would have won in the end.
Doubt it, but I mean, let's be real. ORie, like the only like Ottomans went ahead and told me cancel your alliance with Britain, with Great Britain. That means you, ORie,
I know.
or I will kill you. And I was like, no, I'm not abandoning my ally.
I
And
know,
that's the
but
reason
it
for
was
me
the
like,
events
fighting.
that occurred after that war.
You mean me getting bored with no enemies and fighting you?
Yeah, and then ripping most of France out of the country, but
I mean,
think
at
we
that
could-
point, I thought like you had already won the game. It was like just having fun, but
Mm.
yeah, some Indian curveballs kind of threw things apart. But
I think
Yeah,
at
I
that
mean,
point we could go on with as we're talking about the Ottomans, we could continue with the Ottoman player in Brandenburg this session,
oh, that's right.
Done.
Yes, he is there.
and so we could use that as an
Nice
Yeah.
little segue to Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Well played.
yeah, like I think in Eastern Europe we have Machiavelli and Nitra. I think it's one of his best nations overall, as he played it kind of a lot. So I expect big things from him. We have
Yeah, I
a
mean-
Moldavia player who I think will get the kind of easy independence war, as Poland AI is garbage in this patch and usually explodes after the first war.
Seems
I
legit.
mean, if it
And
gets
Brand-
Lithuania PU, it might be more difficult. But I
That's
don't know.
true. He's gonna have to be
I-
quick about it to avoid that.
I
hopefully.
don't think that Lithuania AI is usually that competent, even in this patch. Like I think if he gets the Ottomans to support his independence,
Yeah, yeah,
and
if Otto supports it.
maybe Muscovy as well, I think he will just straight demolish Poland and Lithuania.
Can you get
From what I
Muscovy?
know, he wants to form Romania. I already
Ah,
did
that's a cool
some
one.
Diplo. It's a bit spicy. And I know another player in that area thinking about who it is. Machiavelli. I don't think he will accept Romania because one of the provinces bordering Nitra is required to form Romania. So I think this will create some bad blood early game.
Yeah,
And Nitra has, in my eyes, the advantage early on if we see a weak Bohemia, that he can maybe snack into Bohemia right from the beginning and get the second gold mine or Praha for free, and maybe join the Ageria. And
But I
at that
mean-
point, I would consider him a contender in the Ageria.
yeah, but let's face it, like Nitra will start with a 5-year truce in Hungary and 0 troops manpower. So if the Moldavia player is strong, he could just be at like 100 dev, 150 dev by the time Nitra even is able to get free. So I mean, depends. I think like if both players are even, I would favor Moldavia in a conflict there, but Machiavelli is definitely one of the stronger players on the server, so I'm expecting him to perform well.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Nitra can rip Trans-Danubia directly out of Hungary in the first war and not get coalition for it.
Yeah. But I mean, regarding Moldavia player, it's Felix. I think he's new. I don't know anything about him, so
Yeah, I do believe
let's
he
see
is
what
new.
he's up to.
Yeah, we also have one more pick in Eastern Europe, and this is kind of a late one. We have the Livonian Order. Now, what do you guys think of that? I think that's kind of spicy.
I can tell you a lot about that because I kind of inspired him to this pick last night, and he asked me for advice because he said to me, "Well, that pick is next to impossible," and I think that area is actually my best area in the game because I have around 350 hours with the Teutons. And right now, I think Livonian Order, if he plays the same style as I told him to do, he can get a really, really strong Livonian Order right off the bat. I think his downfall may be Skant in Brandenburg because Skant will 100% go for Prussia. And if the Livonian Order gets close to Prussia, I think it will be war. And in the current patch, Muscovy tends to be a bit more aggressive, as well as Denmark and Lithuania and Poland towards the Livonian area. So I think he will either go big or he will die session 1.
Oh, that's a bold prediction. I was thinking we might see a race for Prussia because.
Nope, I don't think so. I think Skand, first of all, is the way better player from what I got to know.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because the player in Livonian Order is kind of new to EU4 as well. So I think Skand will outrace him. And the bigger picture is that I think Skand is already more experienced with the Diplo game. I know most of his diplomatic relations that he will have. So I think Skand will have the clear edge. And I think Livonia will get overrun by the AI in the early game. Because I think Denmark and Muscovy are going to attack him at the time where he's going to engage in a player war. So I don't think he will have the best shot. Maybe he's surprising us all with good diplomacy. I think if he could get an independent Sweden on his side kind of fast and a lucky Muscovy alliance, I think he could go really, really strong. But that is depending on a lot of factors, like how much he's taken from Novgorod in the first war, because Muscovy wants that land. So I think he may have a big shot.
I mean,
You think we'll see a Kurland?
I don't think we will see a current. I think it's either him getting Prussia or he is going to die. Session 1.
Seems legit.
I think it's
I do
that
think,
bad.
like in his defense, I think Livonian Order has better position than Brandenburg here. Like far better expansion paths into Novgorod and Teutons, while Brandenburg is forced to eat like massive AoE by expanding into Pomerania initially. So
I disagree on that.
I assume equal players, I would favor Livonian Order, but as stated, Skand seems to be the more experienced player, and I think he'll. I mean, if Livonian Order decides to contest Prussia, I think he will end up dying. But I mean, he could also like just accept, okay, I'll be Livonian Order, I'll be Kurland, and just ally Brandenburg. I don't think it's like a play to win, but it's also an option.
I don't think that will happen, and I think it's not that bad with Pomerania, as you said, because I think Brandenburg can go right off the bat to Pomerania with the new mission system, if I'm correct. And after that, they can just abuse Poland for the first war against the Teutons. Just take Danzig and Königsberg, and then you're essentially well set. I don't see any problems with it because, as far as I know, he won't get any problems with aggressive expansion. The Prussian ideas are excellent for that. And even if he just needs to take one province from Pomerania, if he is not doing the Grugi, I think he's good to go.
Never go full Grugi.
I mean, but Livonia could just declare on Teutons basically off the bat and snag provinces. I'm just not expecting him to. But I'm saying there is potential for Livonian Order to get to the Prussia provinces first.
Yeah, I think we will see a race, to be honest. I think it'll come down to just whoever can get in there before the other one. And I would give the slight edge there personally to Livonian Order since they have Memel right on their border.
Yeah. Also, I think we may have like a new player. We'll see if he joins in, but one of our previous players, Dutch, is considering joining in as Ryasan, actually.
Oh,
I
that's a
heard.
bold pick.
Would
Yeah,
be
I
a
was
big pick.
considering playing it.
Would be a
but-
big pick, in
Yeah.
my opinion, because we don't have a player in that area. And even though Dutch may not be the best player, I think he has the most experience in that area, and he may pull off some wonders, and he may surprise me and us.
Yeah, I mean, both the Russian IDs, the Russian missions, the Russian government form Sardom are great. So if Ryazan actually wins a war against Muscovy down the line and manages to form Russia, it'll definitely be a huge power in the area.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I mean, it can be like a rough start as well. So there's a chance he'll just die. But it seems to be easier to flip Muscovy to friendly. I was considering playing Ryazan, so I tested it, and in this patch, Muscovy and most nations in general seem to flip to friendly after 100 opinions. So it's easier to survive now, but we'll see what happens.
For sure. Well, let's take one last look at the HRE, shall we? I have a question for you guys. Who do you think is going to come out on top for Emperorship? Do you think we'll see a player Emperor all game?
I'm expecting that, yeah. I think, with how many electors we have being played, I'm expecting there to be some sort of agreement between the electors about who becomes the emperor. And maybe will they rotate it around? Will they designate one person, not an elector, or one inside the group? I don't know. But I would expect there to be a player emperor and try to get it off Austria to allow expansion ASAP.
There won't be a permanent Kaiser from the Holy Rome or König from the Holy Roman Empire. I got to know that they will pass around the emperorship. Most
That's
likely.
what they say right now. That's
Yeah,
And I
they
think,
say that.
and I don't think they will keep it to themselves, because I got to hear from all electors until now that they want to get some other nations into the HRE as soon as possible. And I think if that happens,
Nitra.
and I think it could be Nitra and me, most likely in Brittany, depending on the game state. And I think we may actually see a religious war, as two players are actually actively going for the Catholic side this time.
Oh, interesting.
I know two players will, and I think we may see us play a leader of the Protestant League as well, as I think Scotland will go Protestant. And then we have two other players. I won't tell you which ones will most likely go for the Catholic side. Just for the League War, both players will change after the League War. But to spice things up, two players actually made a treaty that they will fight for the Catholic side in the League War no matter what. And I think
can't they
this will
convert
be
to
big.
Protestant and still fight on the Catholic side anyways?
Yeah,
I think you can.
but both players intend to convert to Orthodox, and so I think they won't go Protestant for the war, because for a long time they can just abuse being the sole Catholics left in the world, as I think Spain will most likely die kind of soon, England most likely as well, France as well. So there are not that many big nations left. So I think the most nations will convert to Protestant or Reformed anyway. So I think it will be a good call to actually be a sole or two Catholic nations. It can be an advantage in some ways. I think straight up on the battlefield they are way weaker if they stay Catholic, but if they are the sole nation, why not?
Yeah, I mean,
if
you're
they can
constantly.
get Pope all the time, it's kind of decent to be Catholic, but that means you'll have to be like one or two nations stated. So I mean, I still think Catholic is a fairly weak faith, but it's fun that some people want to play around with it.
Yeah, it should make things interesting. Do you think we'll see the new Anglican religion at all?
I would. I mean, we should talk about the English player as well, or rather
Oh
player.
yeah, that's right.
He
We
changed.
have,
He changed.
Ireland.
He changed to
he's
the
playing Meath.
Meath.
Yeah.
I think he got a pretty hard starting spot. I have the plans that I will work with him, because I only want one province in Ireland for specific purposes, and I wouldn't mind him getting the rest of GB.
Oh, is this a Britain Exodus? Interesting.
Yeah, it most likely will, depending on what France is doing.
All comes down to
And
France.
yeah, it all comes down to AI France in my eyes. And in that moment, I think if we somehow get the independence war going without him getting integrated first, which is actually my biggest problem, as I hope we get the war going before he gets integrated, but I
I mean,
don't
it's a
think it will
minimum
be
of
a
10
problem.
years. So,
I don't think that will be a problem, and then we can just hold off the strait. If he works together with me, I hope he will, because I don't like. I wouldn't bet on the AI being able to land in England if I were him. So I think Brittany may be one of his best bets, as I will most likely no civilian into Ireland at the beginning, straight up after my Provence war. And well, I think we won't see Anglican religion because I think it's kind of weak. I think it's even weaker than Catholicism
I'm
in
not
my
sure it's
eyes.
weaker than Catholic, but I mean, it's definitely weaker than Protestant and probably Reformed too.
Oh yeah, it's
But
definitely
I
weaker than
mean,
Reformed as
it's
well.
kind of like, if you play in the region, maybe you'll just try it out because it's new and interesting.
Yeah, I
With
mean we
the-
could see it.
Yep.
But yeah, why did he choose to swap from Kildare to Meath?
That's a
I-
bold play.
I think I know some parts of it. I did some aggressive diplomacy, and I was like, well, we can do it the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. And I think this somewhat took him to change nations. I think that Ireland region is still not the easiest start overall, even in this patch. So I think if he gets a good alliance net going, I think he can win the first independence war. But it will be kind of interesting to see him on the big stage. I don't think he will go really, really, really big, but I think he will be taking the place of like real life England in the first 100 years of the EU4 timeline, and maybe later he will become big once manufactories start to hit, because that area in Britain is actually kind of good. So
Yeah,
maybe in for a
absolutely.
surprise. But I think it's also kind of harsh for him because we have so many players in the lowlands, and I think we will most likely see one or two player going for the war against GB from that area to control the channel. And then I think why don't take it all if you can? Because at that point, if you're getting over to do Great Britain and you're taking them down, I don't think it's a waste of resources to just kill off Ireland right off the bat, because I think he's isolated when it comes to diplomacy quite a bit
I
because
mean,
of
I
his
just
position.
think like I realize why he chose Meath. I guess it is because it's easier to get alliances if you're a vassal for independence, and this to get like France and maybe Scotland to ally you if you aren't. But it's just wasting so much time. Like he'll be stuck waiting for 5 years for an independence war, and during that time he could just have like united the entire Irish region, and like maybe perhaps even started expanding into Scotland. So I don't know. I think the choice to like use a vassal of England instead of just playing Kildare or something was a huge mistake.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's definitely not the I wouldn't say it's the most competitive choice in the world.
I mean, like Irish IDs are really, really good right now.
Yeah,
So if
for
like he
sure.
can form and like this is like a really safe region if he can get like started. But as Meath, he made it like a lot harder on himself to get started. So I mean, just the fact that he chooses Meath like either signifies that he's really confident and wants to challenge himself, or that he doesn't quite realize the implications to me. So
He didn't knew he was starting as a vassal, by the way.
he didn't know that he was starting as a vassal.
Yep. I told him that, and he was like, okay, not that good, but he's fine. He
Okay.
did not know.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, this will be interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting and probably going to be a little bit sad for him. But I mean, if he managed to get independence and grow, like the English region is really good right now with a lot more provinces to develop and better IDs, incredible mission trees. You can like go Irish minor missions into Ireland missions into English missions, which then get like even bigger mission tree if you form Great Britain. And so I mean, if you can get the ball rolling here, you can become really, really powerful. But yeah, I'm not expecting him to. But if he pulls off the starting position or choice, he could be a really strong contender.
Oh,
But yeah,
absolutely.
shall we wrap it up with what nations?
I think we have a top three. We have a top three. Who will we?
Yeah. All
who
right.
will we
Why don't you go ahead and start us off, Swirt, with your top 3 contenders for this season?
I think you should start. Like,
Okay.
I wanted to do the last. I want
Fair
to be the
enough.
last.
Well, looking at it right now, I'm going to have to say my top 3 picks to come out on top are, in no particular order, are AQ, Florence, and probably Brandenburg.
Okay, then I'll go next. I'm going to choose entirely different nations. I'm going to say that I think Freyde on Tafilalt will come out on top. I think me on Rasids will be really strong. And I think probably Machiavelli on Nitra. What I'm basing this on is mainly like the access of free or somewhat easy expansions early on. I think like nations you mentioned have more player contention early on. It's also like the player quality of like the nations you mentioned is like a little bit more unknown. At least the Florence and AQ we don't know much about. And while I think Skant is a fairly decent player, I think me, Machiavelli, and Freyde are all a little bit stronger, I would say. So yeah, that's my top 3.
I have a top three in a particular order. I think Cookie will end up as the third player because he's not tryharding, and I think he got a.
I
really
think I
great
can win
region.
without tryharding, please.
I don't think so. I think the second place will be taken by Frede Tafival, as he got a pretty good PvE, and he will most likely get to go the Lions net rolling. And I think the player who will win that minors game, Nitra Machiavelli, as I know a lot of his game plan, and
I
I
can
think
figure
he will
out
be
the
able.
campaign plan too.
No, I don't think we should spoil it. But
Yeah, let's,
if
no
he pulls
spoilers,
it off,
guys.
if he pulls it off, he will wipe Brandenburg right off the bat, even if Brandenburg Russia.
Interesting.
And then
I mean,
I
like,
think his diplomat, if he does not screw up diplomatically, like he's doing quite a lot in the late game, I think he will take the game because he can control the Holy Roman Empire. He got access to Venice. They're just kind of close, and he can expand into Russia. And he got the secret tactic going as well, and I think he will be able to pull it off straight up because of his position and experience with the nation. I don't know if something else is a big factor, but I think he will beat Skand in a straight up 1v1. I think Skand is a bit better player-wise, but I think Machiavelli will straight up beat him with experience.
I mean, like, I'm not saying anything. Like, I haven't heard this from him or from anyone else. I haven't been involved in Diplo here in Central, but what I'm expecting him to do is to go independent of Hungary, join the HRE, and then try to move into Poland, kill Poland, and form Poland. That's what I would do in his position as Nitra.
That's probably
with
what I would
Poland
do too.
having really strong national IDs and us banning forming Prussia as a non-Prussian culture nation. So I would expect that, and then he just has Poland, Polish culture, and just like free expansion paths to the east, assuming that Ryazan, Moldavia, or Livonian order does become big while having the safety of the HRE. So that's what I would do. If he has some secret strat to kill Brandenburg, I'll be very interested to see how he pulls it off. But I think his basic position, apart from the fact that he's a releasable, which puts him back 5 years at the start, is really, really good.
For sure. Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking the time today to join me and start going over the picks. I'm pretty excited for this. I don't know about you guys.
Oh, me too, me too. I'm kind of a bit jealous that I didn't pick in the HRE, but I felt a little bit responsible as a moderator to not fill up an already cramped region more. But because it seems to be like so much interest in Diplo and conspiracies and all kinds of stuff I've heard.
It's going to be a mess.
Yeah,
I'm
really looking forward to it.
I hope to be in the Middle East, as my usual first picks were Akayanlu, Fars, and stuff like that. But in the end, I changed it away to my second or third pick, Brittany. And before the patch, I would have said that I would have been perfectly fine with my pick, as I just did Mare Nostrum one patch before and very hard with Brittany, which was kind of easy in my eyes. But right now, I think it's a lot AI depending on how fast I can grow. And if I get unlucky, I will most likely go for an Exodus, because I have some plans going on for that. And if I get really lucky, we have France, etc. I think the League War will get really exciting.
I mean,
That's
I think like you're in a very good position as well. You would be my fourth pick, just because like Brittany, I think it's fairly safe in a multiplayer as long as you create some player allies. France won't declare on you, and as soon as you beat France, you can essentially form it, because all the required provinces are in proximity to you, and you're a little bit like far out of the way. But partly because you have shown that you aren't confident in the opener, you did not make my top 3 list.
I think Brittany in this patch is a big mess, because like we talked about the matter with the France AI start, and I think if France is friendly towards you, you can just eat up Provence as an opener. You can vassalize him, and if you vassalize Provence and then integrate Provence, you got an access to the Berberland, to Italy, and to the HRE, and then you can actually be a big player in early game diplomacy with expansion towards every direction. You can go north to Ireland and GB, you can go south to Iberia, you can go east to the HRE, and you can go west to the New World.
I mean, I would, if I were you, I would just like no Serbian Irish minor, and unlike you, staying at 1, I would just eat all of Ireland before Meath can get independence. But...
That will actually be my plan. That's actually my plan, because
you mean boy.
Because I'm completely honest. My last resort attack was, if I know France will kill me, is that I form Ireland and then move away to the New World and make my happy green nation over there in America.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah, it'll be fun to see. Anyway, shall we wrap it up there, Ori?
Absolutely, yeah. This is where we are going to be wrapping it up. So as always, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in, spending a little part of your day here. It is greatly appreciated. If you guys are enjoying the content and all this series on the channel, as well as this new content, please do drop a like down below, as it really helps the channel out, and subscribe for more Grand Strategy content in the future. My name is ORie. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and we'll catch you in the next one.